Great to see you here again. My name is Luc de Kuster, founder of the Kuster Academy. And in this video, I will be talking about the communications management plan. When we talk about communications, it's very important to create a communications management plan. Of course, we have to adjust it to the size of the project, but the communication management plan is very important because it will describe how the communications will be managed. Now, the other elements that we have is that we will see how that communication management plan will look like. But before we continue, don't forget to click on the subscribe button, click on the bell button, and every time we have a new video, YouTube will inform you about it. Let's talk about the communications management plan. Like I said, when we have a lot of stakeholders, we need a very good communications plan. And it also depends on the type of the project. In some projects, it can be very simple, but it can also be a very complex, let's say a very big plan with all the details, everything specified. And of course, we can have a model of a communications management plan. Once we've been doing the projects, we can make this as a template so it can be adjusted for any project that we will be performing. Now we look at the communication goals here, the objectives and the requirements of the project related to communication. The plan also assigns responsibilities to people, defines formats of messages, quantity, quality, content, and timing. There may be a lot of templates that have been developed because it's very interesting to have templates and using the same templates to share the messages between the stakeholders. There are two purposes that we can identify or that the communications plan has to comply with. First of all, we have to acquire the right information and send it to the right people in the right format at the right time. The second purpose is to ensure that the communications process occurs and is sustained throughout the project's life. We have to keep on communicating. We don't do it once. We keep on doing it from the project start till the project finish. What are the characteristics of the plan? The size and depth of the communication plan depends on the size and complexity of the project. It has a clear, easy to understand structure and language. The content of the plan is limited to what is necessary. It is comprehensive, provides adequate coverage of information for people to contribute towards achieving the overall vision of the project. It's available and accessible by all people involved in the project and who are participating in the communications process. The people who will use it should buy off on the document and understand the principles that are described in it. Now, there are some challenges, and we have to take into account that these challenges are important. First of all, the size. The project manager wants to communicate with the people involved in the project, but the more people there are, the more complex the communication process becomes due to the increasing number of communication lines. Remember, n times n minus 1 divided by 2. Complexity, specific technical requirements means that more technical people will be involved and they may need to think more about issues or requests and they can be temporarily excluded from the process. So some items may need more time to react, and that's a challenge of the communication process. Location, well, we like to have all the people collocated, but there are dispersed team members. This becomes a challenging communication process. If we can collocate the people, it's preferred because it reduces the communication issues. Just look at the sprints when we have the team all together. In Agile, all the people are together. They're working together, so communication is very, very direct and immediate. We have to look at diversity. There may be cultural differences, language, and beliefs that are complicating the communications. technology. It's a tool to communicate, but does not guarantee effective communication. So the technology, if you send out emails, if you do all these things, it's a means to a goal, but it's not necessarily that it will help you to have effective communications. We have to look at norms, patterns of behavior and consistency. They also may look out new ideas related to communications, because many times people are afraid of change. When you see all these different possibilities of communications, I understand it. You use this, you use that, and it takes some time to get the people used to this, and it may not always be easy to introduce new ways to communicate. Let's have a look at the overview, at the structure and the content of the plan. There are some paragraphs that typically are part of the plan. The first element is the purpose of the plan. Then we have the scope, we have the objectives, we have the overall constraints, and then we have a table addressing the following items: the approach, the goals, the participants, the medium, the agenda, the responsibilities, frequency and time of the communications, equipment and supplies that are being used, linkage, constraints, and comments. So these are all the elements that we can typically find in a communications plan. And of course, you can have a model and you can adjust that model for every project that you have. Let's have a look at the different sections of the communications plan. We have the purpose. Here we have a short description of the project and how the communications plan will help to achieve its vision. This communication management plan will describe the processes, tools, and techniques for accomplishing this specific goal. So that would be a description of the purpose. The scope is about what type of meetings the plan covers, the scheduled meetings. We have the objectives, is what the plan hopes to accomplish, like identifying all meetings, identifying the necessary attendees, the reports, and the timing of the meetings. Then we also look at the overall constraints. What are the constraints that exist, and what tools can we use to reduce their impact? When we look at the table section, we have the table. It's the main part of the communication plan, which has following sections. The approach, all communication events that will occur. The goals, what every event wants to achieve. The participants, here we have a list of stakeholders involved. The medium, the tools and the techniques to achieve the goal, for example, email, fax, web conference, whatever we're using. The agenda, the major topics to be discussed in the different meetings. We can have model agendas for every type of meeting. The responsibilities, the major activities to ensure that the event will happen, the organization part. Frequency and time, when will it happen, and what frequency, what will be the frequency to repeat these elements. We look at equipment and supplies. Here we have support requirements, projectors, screens, computers, data links, things like that. Linkage, other projects that will use our data or from which we will receive information. Then we have constraints, the formats to be used, the people who must attend. It's very important to define the formats, because communication between people is only possible when all the people are using the same format. Just remember, when they change from doc to docx, at that time, those documents or people having the new Word version, those documents could not be read by the people who were using the old version. People who must attend, it's very important to identify who has to attend to the different meetings. Comments, there are some general comments you can add to clarify the other points. So that was it about the communications management plan. Before you finish, don't forget to click on the subscribe button, click on the bell button, and every time we have a new video, YouTube will inform you about it. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.